All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing Wednesday night's matchup between the Kentucky Wildcats, Vanderbilt Commodores, 6 p.m. Central Time on SEC Network. Max, the rematch from the matchup in Nashville. They're a little ways back as these two teams played. On January 25th, it was Vanderbilt getting the win 74-69 in that game. And of course, these two teams kind of in interesting spots now, 3 weeks later, whatever it's been. Of course, the Cats just trying to get healthy, coming off that road loss at Texas after the season sweep of Tennessee 5 days before that. And if you look at it for the Commodores, they're trying to play their way into the NCAA tournament. 5-7 now in the SEC. They've lost 4 of 5. 5 of 7 overall. Have hit a pretty tough spot in their schedule, of course, back-to-back games against Auburn and Tennessee. Of course, they led by double digits in that game at Tennessee before losing by 5. Now, the hits keep coming for the Commodores as the tough schedule continues, heading to Lexington to see if the Cats can get a little revenge this time around.
Story of that first game, Blake. If you remember, it was the turnovers. It was the turnovers. No Andrew Carr in that game for Kentucky, but Jackson and Lamont Butler were playing, and man, 11 team assists for Kentucky, 17 team turnovers. Kentucky had 17 turnovers. Vandy only had 5. That was pretty much the name of that game right there. Vandy only shot 4 of 11 from the free throw line. Kentucky only 8 of 13. It was a scrappy game, and you can take a lot away from it because the styles we're starting to see now as the second matchups come around. You just saw it with Kentucky and Tennessee. Sometimes a style, just the way a team is set up, it's just a bad or good matchup in that specific case, and you get swept. This is a game I'm worried for here for Kentucky because even though they're home, that backcourt for Vanderbilt defensively, that has traveled, that defensive backcourt. Now they've had some second halves where it has just gone the other way, multiple of them. And so Kentucky, home court advantage. The crowd, think that could play a really big factor. Uncle Mo could be in the building for this one. But man, if I'm a Kentucky fan, I don't like seeing this nasty backcourt, Blake.
No, I mean, it is a stylistic thing. We said sometimes a certain team just has another team's number. That was the case with Tennessee and Kentucky just having their number. And this is kind of another interesting situation here where you look at these teams and, like you said, I think it's pretty clear that it does start with the turnovers. Vanderbilt doesn't turn it over a lot; they force turnovers. Like that's something where if they can keep working that formula, I think they're going to have a great chance to win these kind of games. And look, I mean, we can talk all we want, but like it's also just a matter of like who is going to be playing for Kentucky. And I think it's one of those things. We're recording this on Tuesday morning. I don't know what to expect. Like we have an idea, I guess, of who we think's going to play and who's not going to play, but I don't know. Like we think that sometimes too when it comes to Kentucky, and then all of a sudden it's like there's just a surprise that pops up on the injury report, or this guy's back and we didn't think he's going to be back, or so. I mean that's just as big of the story as anything, Max, because it's like you go into this and you can look at the things and the numbers and say, well, all right, yeah, Vanderbilt's got this in their favor and all that, but it's like you got to compare it against who's playing, who's not playing. Andrew Carr didn't play this game the first time around, and so Robinson did play, Butler played. Like it's just, yeah, like that's the biggest issue when you're trying to sort of preview a Kentucky game at this point in the season.
Well, one thing going for Kentucky is shooting that 3 ball, and it's not going too good for Vandy defensively. Blake, without looking, you might already know, but do you know what percentage? So Kentucky offensively is first in 3-point percentage in the SEC. They're shooting 40.7% as a team from 3 in SEC play. Bananas.
Ridiculous.
What percentage is Vandy giving up in SEC play defensively?
I'm gonna assume that it's either Vandy or Mississippi State are the worst in the 3-point percentage defense in SEC play. but I guess what, probably 38%, 37%. I don't know if that's too high, low.
So remember, Kentucky's shooting 40.7. Vandy is giving up 41%.
Wow, my goodness.
Dead last in the SEC.
Yikes.
Kentucky
Well,
fans,
all right, let's
we
make our
know.
picks. I'm ready. Let's make picks. Let's make picks right now. I'm ready. No. I mean, yeah, that's pretty glaring, isn't it? Wow, that is a wild stat. I'm going to look at some of these individual numbers here because now you've got me curious. I mean, again, I knew they were probably the bottom two, then Mississippi State. Is that right? Is somebody else worse that I'm not thinking of? But
Oh, it
um,
gotta be.
it's got to be right. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, wow, this is quite interesting. So in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, that is just absurd. So here are the 3-point numbers that Vanderbilt has given up in their past. I mean, really, we could go all the way back to the Missouri game. The Missouri game, Missouri goes 10 of 24 for 42%. South Carolina goes 7 of 16 for 44%. Tennessee, 10 of 21 for 48%. Alabama, 8 of 22 for 36%. Kentucky, 9 of 23 for 39%. Oklahoma, 11 of 20 for 55%. Florida, 10 of 21 for 48%.
Jeez.
Texas, 9 of 25 for 36%. Auburn, 9 of 24 for 38%. Tennessee, 9 of 21 for 43. They've given up at least like 9 threes in 6 straight games. That's wild.
Their best 3-point defensive performance in those you listed off is holding a team to like 36% from 3.
Yeah, and that was Alabama. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Beyond that, though, I mean, what else?
To overcome that,
Yeah.
so let's play the hypothetical. Kentucky lights it up from 3. They light it up, right? 12 of 24, 50%. They have a night. How does Vanderbilt keep up offensively, because they don't get to the line too much? But this is a Kentucky defense that does not force turnovers. It's a Vanderbilt offense that does not turn the ball over. Vandy's going to be able to run their stuff, Blake. Vandy's going to be able to run their stuff.
Yeah. Well, and there you go. And that's the other side of this matchup. Is Kentucky going to defend here? Because that's what it comes down to. Because as you said, we can say Kentucky could go 18 of 19 from 3 in this game. But if they don't defend and they don't play consistently on the defensive side of the floor, it's not going to matter. The Kentucky defensive numbers have gotten better, and we talked about that. They're not in the 100s anymore. They're around the top 75 or so defensively. So you've seen that number improve a little bit. I think the South Carolina game helps that. The Tennessee game helped that because, as we said, they were kind of, that's what you want to see. They were locked in on defense in those 2 games, and that was a great kind of performance. Became a little bit harder at Texas because of the reasons we mentioned. No Lamont Butler again. Jackson Robinson didn't play. And it's just not easy to, kind of stop a guy named Trey Johnson or Tremont Mark, who those 2 guys, just as we said, just sort of, took it to Kentucky a bit in that game. But, I mean, it's just, that's what it comes down to, right? I feel like those 2 things, well, actually, there's 3 things. This is Kentucky's season in a nutshell. It's the injuries, it's how good they are shooting the ball, and it's the defensive lapses. Like, those are the 3 things that have sort of defined this team this year. And it's just which of those combinations are going to win out in the game like this, right? And I feel like that's really what it comes down to. Who's playing? Can Kentucky make threes? Because the numbers tell us that they should be able to make a lot of threes in this game. And can they prevent a Vanderbilt team who I would probably argue, in terms of running their offense, is probably one of the better teams in the SEC at just running their offense the way they want to run it. And it's not always, look, I'm not saying that means they're going to always score on every possession, but they are pretty disciplined in terms of how they run their offense. And so if you combine all those things together, which one wins out?
And Blake, also, here's another little angle. February 1st, Vanderbilt is tied or almost tied with Oklahoma at halftime, and then they just absolutely
beat by 30.
Wash away the second half, right? Then they go to Florida, They're winning 48-46 with 14 minutes left in that game at Florida. Lose by 9. Okay, that's a nice toughness response. Nice. You go to Gainesville after you lose by 30 to Oklahoma, and you're right there with 14 minutes left with the lead. Okay, so that was the second to last road game. Their last road game at Tennessee, working the Vols for like 25, 30 minutes until Zakai Ziegler goes ridiculous. They're up 42-26. So we talk about, the second halves and the lopsided road games here. Past 2 road games for Vandy, they've been right there at Florida, at Tennessee. Just haven't been able to close it out.
Are they going to close it out? Picks.
Okay, so I need to make up a game, but I said I'm not doubting this team anymore. I'm not dropping back 3 games, picking an 8-9 point underdog. That's something I would do. That is right up my alley, but I'm not doing it. Give me Cats.
Yeah, I think to me, it's like you said, the 3-point numbers allowed by Vanderbilt are pretty jarring. Kentucky shoots the ball pretty well at home. The defense worries me a little bit. The roster availability worries me a little bit. Like just kind of seeing what the rotation looks like here. I have no idea. We haven't seen the injury report as we're recording this. We don't know what the status is. We know kind of Mark Pope did give some updates on Butler and Jackson Robinson and such, but we just don't know, right? I think you just don't ever know with Kentucky until we get closer to game time. So it makes it a little bit harder to feel really confident when you pick them in a game like this against a team that's already beaten them this season. But I do wonder, is it just as simple as this game's in Lexington? Kentucky statistically matches up pretty well with Vanderbilt, just like we said, especially from the 3-point standpoint. They just have to be able to defend Vanderbilt's offense. If they can do that consistently for 40 minutes, I think Kentucky wins this game. So there you go, our picks.
Just let Trent Noah shoot it.
Yeah, I mean,
just give it to the freshman.
As long as he has 15 3-point attempts, I think Kentucky will be fine in this game. I'll tell you who else is fine. That's Bracket Bids. Our friends, if you want to take Kentucky or the Commodores to go far in the NCAA tournament, you can do it. Enter into that free pick'em contest or start an auction draft league with friends, family, or coworkers. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates. Secure the teams you think will go the distance in the tournament. Choose from multiple scoring models, including upset bonuses to reward the bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring. Watch the standings shift in real time. The further your teams advance, the higher you climb the standings. That's how it works. For league play, use that promo code SE16 for 40% off. SE16, 40% off. Download the Bracket Bids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. We appreciate you guys watching. More previews on the way. We'll have our live reaction on Wednesday night, most likely, to these games. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. We appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.